Okay, this is the core out of the big willow burl that I turned recently and colored. So thought it was maybe time to take a look at this guy and see what we can do with it. Got some pretty bad cracks down the bottom here and a lot of cracks in here, but I think we'll be alright. Should be able to get a small bowl out of this, so anyway, we'll see how it goes. So first step is to true up this bottom, so we'll see how much I have to take off to get something decent. Alright, let's take a look, see what we got. Huh? I don't know whether that's picking up on a camera, but there's some really nice grain showing there now. Okay, carry on. I want to use my Vic Mark chuck with a 4-inch jaw, so I think I'll put a tenon on about there, and then we can waste all this bit away. When you're doing a tenon for your chuck, you want the surface back in here to be absolutely flat, so that when the jaws go up against it, they've actually got something, an area there that's suitable to purchase against. So if there's any twisting taking place, that's where the maximum resistance is, up against that flat. So let's put a flat in here. Using a skew as a negative rate scraper. Not something that the skew was meant for, but it seems to be all the rage nowadays. Okay, I think we got a good profile there. Let's just check the size. Yeah, and I'm good for 4-inch jaws, so that's all that matters. Okay, I've now got to the point where I've got my tenon formed, and I've also wasted all of this stuff off the bottom. So the next step is going to be to take this out, which I'll do off the lathe with a chisel and a mallet. I'll just knock that out and then put it in the chuck, and we're good to go. Okay, I removed the little nub on the bottom, and then I went with a center finder to find the center again of the tenon, and I've used an awl just to put a little point in the center there, which will stay there then until I actually finish the bottom of the bowl, when all this will then get turned away. But that center can be very useful when you reverse turn the bowl later on, and you need to line everything up, get everything as concentric as possible. So now's the time to put it back on there. Okay, with it now mounted, as you can see, on the chuck, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to mark the tenon between number 1 and number 4 jaw. I always do this on everything I turn. So I'll mark the tenon up here, so if ever I have to take it out of the chuck, I've got to locate to put it back in, and it should line up pretty good and not go eccentric. Okay, does that make sense? I use pencil when I'm doing this because if you use magic marker or a felt tip pen, it can bleed into the wood, and maybe then when you remove the tenon you've got this horrible black spot you can't get rid of. So think about that. Use a pencil. Alright, I've now moved the headstock up to the far end of the lathe, taken the tailstock off completely. Tool rest I'm using is a Phil Irons tool gate, which has these nice little saddle pieces on so that you can actually lever with the tool as you're cutting in. I find it gives me a lot more support. The gouge I'm using is a 5/8 one-way master cut, double-ended, and it's mounted in a Robert Sorby sovereign handle, which I really like. It's about just under 700 RPM. Standing at the end of the lathe like this, it is a lot more comfortable to work. You're not leaning across the lathe ways to try and get inside anything. Also, with the safety factor, as you can see, I'm completely outside the line of fire. If this thing should let go, it's going to go in either one of those directions. Now I've just moved the tool rest so it's angled more into the opening of the bowl and get me a little bit closer. So actually it looks like I could use it to be dropped down a little bit, so maybe I'll do that before I go any further. Now, I know normal practice is to try and keep support to the outside of the bowl for as long as possible, so I don't want to go down too deep right now. So now is the time to move the little saddle out and take another position and then start taking away the outside. Okay, here we go. new position. Like I said, I'm outside the line of fire. That piece of missing completely. Now you know why I like a lathe that has a headstock that moves. The other benefit is I can see right down the line of the outside there, so I can keep my tool absolutely parallel to that outside wall. Now that screeching vibration tells me I'm a little bit too far away. So, time to move the tool rest again. Now you can see exactly what happened. The piece of bark that was in there was the piece that flew off, and as luck have it, it's still in one piece, and you know what, it all fits back in there very nicely. So I think I'm going to take a break for 15 minutes or so and mix up some 5-minute epoxy and see if we can get it all to stay together again. Okay, repair's been made, but as you can see, that was quite a big chunk of bark that came out of there. It's now got to be trimmed down to size and whatever, so hopefully it will all stay together. Also, while I was doing the epoxy, I also ran very thin CA glue on all of the bark, both inside and out, all the way around. So hopefully that will keep things together for a little while. I hope so anyway. Well, it's holding together, which is kind of surprising. You can see I've not quite got a complete circle cut there because here you can still see some of the old tool marks. So something's moving a little bit. So I think I'm going to have to maybe take a little bit more out the center here and see how far this whole thing moves before I clean up that inside anymore. Well, we'll see. Well, I think I'm going to change gouges and go back on a 1/2 inch gouge and then clean this up now and see if we can make this perfectly equal thickness all the way around. And then I'm getting pretty damn close to the bottom there, so then it'll be time to do a final shaping on the inside, and then I'll finish off by doing a final shape on the outside just to pull everything back to a reasonable thickness all the way around. Okay, I managed to clean up all of this area in here. I've got still one little gouge mark right down in there, but I think we'll be okay with that. It's not very deep and I can sand it. So now I've got about another 1/2 inch or so to go on the bottom, and it's getting there. Also change the tool rest over. This is now just a regular straight tool rest that I had made up with a curve in it. So it lets me get in there pretty damn deep. I'm really got some bad heavy tear out there, so it's just got some grain problems. I don't know what the depth is like on it right now. I'll have to check that. Okay, measures 3 3/4. And 3 3/4. I have about 3/4 of an inch to an inch left on the bottom, so I can still afford to take a little bit more out. Let's try a pull cut and see if we can get a cleaner finish on it. It certainly feels a lot nicer. The thing is with these pieces of burl, you really don't know which way the grain is going until you actually try to cut it. Now I've got one nice continuous cut all the way through there, so we'll see what it looks like. Oh, it's not bad. There's a couple of little minor rough parts. Alright, let's check the depth again. I'm seeing about 4 1/4 inches there. And that gives me just under an inch on the bottom still. So I'll go a bit more. So we get some real bad tear up there now. here. Another one just back in there that was. Took a ridge right there. A little bit of it left. Okay, I've just got this one ridge in here. Might seem that I'm taking a lot of time and effort to smooth this all out, but I do like to feel a nice smooth curve on the inside there. It saves a lot of sanding later on down the road. And depth wise, I always try and end up with a little bit of thickness on the bottom to give stability on the finished bowl. And so right now, 4 5/8, yeah. I am down to almost 1/4 inch, so that will do. Okay, inside is finished. So now a quick flick of the tool rest and we will finish truing out the outside. Bingo! Oh well. Huh. Obviously a serious fault in there somewhere. Okay, you can see what went. There's a piece gone right out of the side here. And I got an idea there were several cracks which didn't appear to be going all the way through, but they obviously had some effect on it. So boom, looks like I've lost about 1/4 of the bowl. Anyway, we will see if it's fixable or not. I doubt it very much. Well, I found 2 of the pieces, but the third is not to be seen anywhere right now. But anyway, we'll let the CA glue set up and see if we can find the other piece. I don't think it's going to hold together no matter what. Time for an update. This piece has now been sitting out here for a couple of days, and yesterday I came out, and when I started it up, it had just warped all over the place, and I made a very, what can we say, sort of scary attempt to true it up. And I think you can see from where I'm at here, I'm down to well under 1/4 of an inch thickness now, and even on this side I've still got almost 3/8, so still quite a bit out of around. And as you can see, I just held a pencil up against it with it turning, and you can see high spots are still right on the thin stuff. So to go any further, there's no way I'm ever going to true it up. So sadly, I think it is definitely one for the firewood pile. It was nice learning some new stuff, which I did, and the positive side of it is that because I was standing out the line of fire when pieces let go, I didn't get hurt, so that's a good thing to remember. But having said that, you know, we've got to be so damn careful. There's no telling what is going to happen with wood that can have hidden defects, etc. So it always pays to think on the safety side. So anyway, I'm afraid it's time to say goodbye to this piece, and it will go into the firewood pile. Thanks for watching.